Good day, ma'am. Good day, classmates. So now let us focus ourselves and let us study about the development of production. So at the end of this week, the pre-service teacher should be able to first explain how energy production have developed through time, identify some of the food hunting and gathering techniques of early people, and discuss the different types of agriculture. So here are the three contents that we will be emphasizing of. First one is the evolution of energy production, food hunting and gathering stage, and last is the agriculture. So in the evolution of energy production, it says there that economic and technological developments are linked with shift in sources of energy. So the trend is towards the adoption of higher energy content sources as the shift from coal to oil and natural gas. So as we can see in the illustrations, there are five major phases, including one um, speculative about the future. First one is the 15th century, mid of 19th century, early of 20th century, late 20th century, and the mid of 21st century. So in the before the industrial revolution, we can see that 50% biomass and 50% of animal production. So it was the energy use relied only on muscular and biomass sources provided by the manual labor and animals, and of course by the biomass mainly for firewood provided for heating and cooking energy needs. And of course there are also what we call sources of energy such as windmills and water mills were present, but their overall contribution was marginal and very for specific purposes only. So in the industrial revolution, we can say that it's more on the manual labor and animals, and of course by the biomass. Next is by the middle of the 90th century, mid of 90th century. So the Industrial Revolution brought a major shift in energy sources with the usage of coal, mainly for steam engines but increasingly for power plants. So the use of coal is for to generate thrust, yun, to use to steam generate by burning coal for locomotives. So ang kulang talaga ng coal is binaburn nila, for the locomotive for a specific or for a simple vehicle or for a simple output. So the usage of the thermal energy to generate mechanical energy was the core driver of this transformation. So next is about the 20th century began. So let's see, nagkaroon nandito ng higher energy content, just like the oil. So dito na nagkaroon ng oil evolution of energy, na kung saan the introduction of energy conversion engines and oil powered ships. So actually mas malaki na yon yung what we call that is yung generate na, nagkaroon na siya ng boat or simply ship, yung mga maliliit, and it's very important for the economic development of a certain country to have the oil to generate you know the to generate ship boat for a greater purposes. Next is in the late 20th century. As we can see in the here, nagkaroon na naman tayo ng 20% of natural gas and 5% of nuclear, na kung saan dito na nagkakaroon ng hydroelectric and solar. So just like here in what we call that is Isabela, nagkaroon tayo ng hydro power plant or hydroelectric dun sa Magat Dam, at marami din ang nakagagamit dito, and because of the natural gas and the 5% of the nuclear. So it is in the late 20th century na nagkaroon na tayo ng ganitong pagbabago sa energy. So next is for the mid of 21st century. Dito naman nagkaroon na tayo ng the hydrogen, na kung saan nakatulong siya sa biotechnology, sa science, most especially in the hydrogen, most especially on the powering vehicles, small energy generators, and portable devices. And because of the hydrogen, or because of the natural gas, nuclear, hydrogen, and even the oil, is mas pinabilis, mas pinaboom niya ang economic growth ng isang bansa, as well as the economic system of a certain person, of a certain place, or a certain community. So because of this evolution of energy, nagkaroon na tayo ng tinatawag na malaki ang pagbabago sa ating ekonomiya. And because of that, lahat na ng gamit, I think, is easy to operate, easy to at easy to naging easy na rin yung buhay ng mga tao because of those evolution of energy. So I think the economic and technology is a great impact, has a great impact to the economic lifestyle of the people, as well as of the evolution of the energy, because it makes it generate every single aspect of every vehicle, energy generators, and many more devices. So in that case, let's go on the second content that we will be discussing, the food hunting and gathering stage. Let me read to you. Hunter-gatherer culture is a type of subsistence lifestyle that relies on hunting and fishing animals and foraging for wild vegetation and other nutrients like honey. For food. So until the approximate 12,000 years ago, all humans practice hunting and gathering, because I think they don't wala sila sa alam pa sa sa agrikultura. Wala pa sila sa alam sa pakikibaka, sa mga bagay-bagay na pwede na lang gawin sa kanilang pwede na lang gawin para mapadali ang kanilang buhay, just like their sources on the environment. So that being said, so in the anthropologists, of course, have discovered evidence for the practice of hunter-gatherer culture by modern humans, just the Homo sapiens. So their distant ancestors dating as far back as 2 million years. So back then, talagang napatunayan na ang hunter-gatherers ay what we call na practice ng ating mga ninuno para makasurvive sa kanilang day-to-day life living. So before the emergence of hunter-gatherer cultures, earlier groups relied on the practice of scavenging animals remained that predators left behind. So kasi nga wala pa silang siguro kaalam-alam sa kanilang nasasakupan sa kanilang environment, at innate na din sa kanilang sarili or sa kanilang katawan na nagugutom sila, nauuhaw sila dahil ito yung pangangailangan ng kanilang katawan. Nagkaroon na sila nito siguro ng pagmumuni, or nag-isip-isip sila na bakit kaya kinakain ng animals yung isa pa yung kapwa nilang animals. So that being said na pwede na nila itong kainin din dahil sa tingin nila ay maaari itong kainin. Ganun din sa mga ibon siguro, no, dun sa dun sa tinatawag natin na kung ano yung mga kinukuha ng mga animals na mga prutas, ay ito rin yung naging sign sa mga tao noon na pwede na nila itong kainin din dahil na hindi pa nila alam kung paano mag-operate ng kumbaga sa agricultural na aspeto. Ito na lang yung mga naging pamantayan nila upang mabuhay at makasurvive sa kanilang buhay. Next is the hunter-gatherers did not rely on agriculture. So they use on mobility as a survival strategy. They needed a larger area to find food, to find the food they needed to survive in a day-to-day life living. So the hunter groups also tended to range in a sentence. So hindi nila siguro meron din sa kanila yung sistema, nagkakaroon dito ng kanilang kultura na hindi muna sila mag-extend ng kanilang mga pamilya dahil nahihirapan silang mabuhay, nahihirapan silang makasurvive sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan. So the beginnings of the Neolithic Revolution about the 12,000 years ago, dito na na-introduce yung tinatawag na hindi naman na-introduce, na-develop yung agricultural practices ng mga tao. So nalaman na nila kung paano mag-manage or mag-alaga ng mga hayop. Ganun din yung mga siguro sinasabi yung mga agricultural aspeto, just like the pastoring crops, and even how they how to cook also siguro, no, dahil sa agricultural na aspeto na din siguro yun. Dito rin nagkakaroon ng dahil na-introduce na sila, meron na silang pagkukunan ng hanap buhay, nagkaroon na din sila ng permanent na settlements at pwede na silang lumawak yung kanilang populasyon dahil nga sa meron na silang pagkukunan ng kanilang kinabubuhay. So to give you a glimpse about the last groups to live in this tradition, so I think the Hadza people of Tanyanya live in this kind of tradition. But actually, up to this day, meron pa siguro yung mga hunter-gatherers, but in a modern way, siguro sa mga probinsya ng mga province or sa mga tinatawag nating mahihirap na bansa, most especially in Africa and part of the Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, I don't know, part of the Kazakhstan and Africa, meron pa rin yung mga siguro yung mga nagpa-practice ng mga ganito dahil sa hirap ng kanilang pamumuhay at dahil na rin sa tinatawag natin na environment, the climate or the weather that they have. So ngayon naman ay ituon natin ang ating sarili sa pangatlong content, ang agrikultura. So the agriculture is the art and science of cultivating the soil, growing crops, and raising livestock. It includes the preparation of plants and animals product for people to use and and their distribution to markets. So agriculture provide most of the world's foods and fabrics. Cotton, wool, and leather are all agricultural products. So the agriculture also provides wood for construction and paper products. Actually, agriculture is very important in our life. It's a need for us to have those kind of agricultural styles aspect, kasi dito natin napalawig yung imahinasyon or tinatawag nating pamumuhay natin. Dito tayo dito na-develop ang ating ang ating estilo sa pamumuhay sa agricultural na aspeto. Next is to give you a glimpse about the start of agriculture. So actually, hindi just like in hunting and gathering, hindi actually ang kinabubuhay ng mga tao ay in the agricultural aspect, but it's more on hunter and hunter gatherers. So by the 2000 years ago, much of the earth population had become dependent on agriculture. Yes, indeed. Just like, and up to this now, just like in a province, but in an urban, I think, siguro hindi na more on agriculture, but in the rural areas, more on agricultural aspects sila. And alam naman natin ng mga social studies na yung Tigris and Euphrates rivers in Mesopotamia is naging way para sa agrikultura ng mga taga roon. So because of the rivers, the Tigris, Euphrates in Mesopotamia, ito na naging way para mapalawak yung agrikultural o magkaroon sila ng agricultural na aspeto doon sa Mesopotamia na tinatawag na ngayon na Iraq and Iran. So actually, when people began growing crops, they also began herding and breeding with animals, and that is what we call the domestication. So in Mesopotamia, just like I said, is the irrigation system. So by channeling water from streams onto their fields, farming were able to settle in areas once thought to be unsuited to agriculture. So nagkaroon na sila ng irrigation system, may inayos na nila. At ngayon naman, yung mga Egypt at China is inorganize din na sila yung sarili at gumawa rin sila ng better irrigation systems. And next is on the early farmers. Early farmers also developed improved varieties of plants. Actually, totoo yan. The corns, the rice, the wheat, and these kinds of varieties of plants, and even vegetables, fruits, nagkakaroon na sila ng glimpse na kung paano mag-operate ng mga ganong mga halaman. So I think it's a great contribution, it's a great help for them also in that kind of style or improvement. Next is the Roman Empire. Ito namang Roman Empire, dahil sa pag-conquer ng empire is most especially in Africa and Asia, nagkakaroon na sila ng glimpse about the on agricultural aspect, at isinusulat na nila ito or the record about it, and then lahat ng kanilang na-record ay ginawa rin nila sa kanilang mga bansa, in a better way. So mas nilamangan pa nila. Next is about the Chinese. Sa Chinese also adapted farming tools and methods from nearby empires. Ito naman, Chinese is nag-adapt din sila kasi nag-adapt na ng farming tools and methods ng from the nearby empires. So next is for the medieval European farmers. Actually, this they use open field system. So the open field system, so one would be planted in spring, another in autumn, and would be left unplanted or fallow. This kind of system is actually preserved for the nutrients of the soil, increasing crop production. So next is the Islamic Golden Age. Actually, they they have the 4 field crop rotation in a 1 year. So the field in 1 year they have to crop in 4. So and next is the types of agriculture. So the types of agriculture, first is the shifting cultivation. Actually, this is shift. It's commonly for the for the forest clearance through burning and slashing. So the cleared land is cultivated until its fertility declines, or for the 3 to 5 years until native flora and weeds overtake it. So the shifting cultivation is actually burning and slashing all the grass and even trees in a specific or in a large area to actually to 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 regain the nutrients of the soil. And next is the nomadic herding. Actually, this nomadic herding is very prominent in our municipality, because and even in our barangay, because ito yung ginagawa namin. Ito yung ginagawa ng karamihan dito sa amin, na nagpapastor sila because they don't have a large area. Nagpapastol lang sa daan, sa mga gilid-gilid ng mga kalsada, sa mga bakanting lote. So ito yung nomadic herding. So this you go, and actually it's parts of the Saudi Arabia, North Africa, and northern parts of Eurasia. So the practice is pastoral farming. Actually, in Philippines, we practice also this kind of agricultural types. Next is the rudimentary sedentary tillage. Is a type of subsistence farming practice on the same piece of land year in and year out. In 1 year, so year in and year out. So land in the less fatters, of course, to regain also the fertility of the soil. And ito yung pinapractice nila in the tropics, na kung saan involve yung mga tree crops such as the para rubber tree and grains. So ang kaganda nito is na re-regain ulit yung nutrients of the soil. Next is the livestock ranching or pastoral farming. Ito naman yung may mga malalawak na mga lupain siguro. So unlike the nomadic farmers, do not move from one place to another in search. So ito naman is nagmo-move sa, hindi lang siya naka-stack doon sa kung saan mo ipinastol yung yung livestock ranching ay what we call that is doon lang mismo, doon lang sa part na pinagpastulan mo, doon lang siya. But in pastoral kasi, in nomadic herding kasi, is ililipat mo siya sa iba kasi nakatali siya or nakakuan siya. So just in livestock, hindi mo siya, wag mo na siyang, kasi malawak naman yung area mo siguro or something. Yeah, you have the large area of pagpapastol ng ganyan. So that is livestock ranching. Next is the commercial plantations. Actually, this kind of plantation or commercial need a large area, needs a large land areas, and it involves the cultivation of tropical crops such as tea, rubber, coffee, coconut, cocoa, grapes, apples, spices, oranges, avocado, mangoes, and palm oil. So yung commercial plantations is um, tinatawag din nating industrialized agriculture or plantation or tree crop farming. And this kind of commercial plantation, actually nakita ko dun sa isang site or article na nabasa ko, na article news.com.ph, sa Batangas. Malalawak yung commercial plantations nila doon. I think Batangas. Yeah, Batangas. Next is mixed farming. Ito naman yung tinatawag natin na pagpapastol. At the same time, meron din tawag yung mga crops or mga trees na nakakuan. Just like in Batangas, or if you watch the vlog of Miss Bea Alonso, parang pastoral mixed farming siya, kasi yung kanyang farm, parang yung trees is merong certain what we call length of each, or distance of each trees. Meron mga distansya para sa ganoon ay ma-maintain yung grass at makain din ng mga cows and carabaos na nakapastol doon. And actually, yung height ng kanilang trees is natitrim din para sa ganun hindi lang maabot yung mga baka o yung mga cows na ipinapastol nila doon. And that is an example of mixed farming. Next is special horticulture. Ito namang special horticulture ay tinatawag natin na naka-focus or nakatuon ito sa mga urban areas, na sa mga cities or sa mga crowded na place. Kasi itong special horticulture is parang pwede nilang gawin sa kanilang taas ng kanilang bahay, na merong lights sa likod ng kanilang bahay, sa maliit na area ng kanilang bahay. And hindi naman pwede sa atin, kasi pwede sa atin, pero of course kung meron naman tayong malawak or meron tayong pagtatamnan dito sa rural areas, ay hindi na natin kailangan ng ganitong style of agriculture. So it is adapted in northern Hungary, France, and Swiss lake regions for vineyard cultivation. Next is subsistence farming. And actually, subsistence farming is para day crops, growing crops and keeping animals for the sole purpose only of feeding their families or even their self. So nagkukuha lang sila para mabuhay at para meron maipakain sa kanilang pamilya, and that is subsistence farming. Intensive subsistence farming naman is ito na yung actually is with dense population. It is practiced with dense population, in the dense population and high rainfall. So the rice is the major crop grown because it can feed and employ many people in every unit and area. It is mainly adopted in Southeast Asia, and farmers make use of animal and manual power to carry out farming activities. Just like here in Isabela, we do intensive subsistence farming. Meron yung mga nagkakaryada, meron din yung mga ng guguyod or ng kuwan ng mga treasure at it's an actually a man and animals labor. So tao at mga hayop lang ang ginagamit nila nga para makakuha ng rice na tinatawag or mga palay. Meron tayong yung mga makinarya, pero it is practice to help other people or to employ many people in every unit area. So that is the main purpose of this intensive subsistence farming. Next is Mediterranean agriculture. Actually, this Mediterranean agriculture is for a long time phase. Yung mga trees, yung mga fruits, yung mga citrus, grapes, yung mga hindi siya pang maikli or pang in a year or 2 years, but it need a long time to harvest or to crops to harvest, just like trees, citrus, grapes, and everything fruits. Next is the dairy farming. From the word itself, dairy, it's involved cattle for milk, and its origin in Europe and highly developed in Sweden and Denmark. Next is commercial grain farming. It is mainly practiced in areas with less dense population and low rainfall. So less dense, konting mga tao at hindi masyadong maulan, hindi masyadong yung climate change, hindi masyadong maulan. So it is mainly adapted in steppes, prairies, and the temperate grasslands of Australia and South America. So that is the commercial grain farming. Next, the arable farming. So the arable farming is can be practiced in a large commercial or small scale. So just like meron tayong tawag na annual crops such as plantains, vegetable grains, cassava, potatoes, and legumes are often grown in arable fronts. So ito naman yung in-emphasize niya is without keeping animals. So it's just like for the crops only, for vegetables, for cassava, potatoes, and anything about it. Next is because we explain the agriculture aspects as well as the development of the people in the what we call that, in the energy evolution, energy production, as well as the hunter-gatherers. Some factors also helps those kinds or those aspect is the machinery. The machinery is very important in every aspect of our life. It may in agriculture, in the people we live in, the people we kung paano tayo gumawa at mag-accomplish ng mga bagay-bagay sa ating day-to-day life. Machinery is very important. It makes our life easy. It makes every para mapadali yung mga bagay-bagay na ating ginawa, at sa ganoon makatulong din at humaba din yung ating buhay at hindi tayo mapagod sa ating mga ginagawa. Next is the agriculture science. So in agriculture science, it's very important because it helps the farmers, the soil, and even the crops to grow, to develop, and to maintain the nutrients. And because of the gasoline, electricity, pests and diseases, natural fertilizing chemicals, nagkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag nating mga pag indeed, agricultural science is very important in the scientific advances, in the development and progress of our economic, of our agricultural aspect. By that being said, thank you for listening. Have a nice day and good day, everyone.